Hey guys, tonight we are going to talk about something the universe keeps hidden in plain sight. A secret that is all around us, yet almost never noticed. When you look at the night sky, you see stars shining, you see lights scattered across the darkness. But between those stars, in the quiet spaces where nothing seems to be, there may be even more worlds than there are stars. Planets that do not circle any sun, planets that drift alone through the galaxy, carrying their silence with them. We are going to spend tonight with these wanderers, these strange exiles of the cosmos, the rogue planets. They do not shine, they do not rise or set, they simply move endlessly, hidden in the dark, and yet they may be the most common type of world in the universe. Now, before we begin, it might be possible that as we walk gently through this story, you may find yourself becoming calm and heavy-eyed. Your subconscious mind will keep traveling even if you fall asleep, moving with these lonely worlds, carrying you softly deeper into rest. So let's begin and step into the darkness between stars, where rogue planets live. Imagine the night sky above you, millions of stars shining, each one a distant sun. Around many of those stars are planets, circling steadily, warmed by the light of their parent. But not all planets live such predictable lives. Some are flung away, some escape their orbits, and some never form around a star at all. These become wanderers, rogue planets, drifting endlessly in the cold, dark space between stars. It is strange to think about a planet without a sun, no sunrise, no sunset, no day, no night. Just endless darkness, broken only by the faint glow of distant stars far away and powerless to give warmth. Scientists believe there may be more rogue planets than stars in the galaxy. That means trillions of worlds, floating silently, each one a lonely traveler with no home star to circle. How do these planets become rogue? Some are born in normal star systems, but then they are thrown out. Maybe another giant planet passes too close, or maybe the gravity of a neighbor star kicks them away. In the chaos of young solar systems, planets can be ejected like marbles from a crowded box. Once they are pushed out, they never return, they wander forever. Others may form in isolation, born from clouds of gas and dust, too small to ignite into stars. Instead of becoming bright suns, they become dim worlds, heavy enough to be planets, but never catching the fire of nuclear fusion. These too become rogues from the beginning. What would it be like to stand on a rogue planet? A surface colder than Antarctica, darker than the deepest cave, a place where the only light comes from the faint stars overhead and perhaps from glowing clouds of aurora in its own thin atmosphere. If there were mountains, they would stand in eternal twilight. If there were oceans, they would be frozen under thick layers of ice. And yet, deep below the surface, there might still be heat from the planet's core, heat left over from its birth, slowly leaking outward. This inner heat means that some rogue planets could still keep liquid oceans under their icy shells. In those hidden seas, life might survive, just as it does in the deep oceans of Earth, near hydrothermal vents. Creatures warmed not by sunlight, but by the warmth of the planet itself. This idea is astonishing because it means the galaxy may be full of hidden worlds that carry life, even though they never see the light of a star. Life huddled in darkness, carried by planets that no one can see from afar. Astronomers struggle to find rogue planets because they do not shine. They are detected only when they pass in front of distant stars and bend their light with gravity, or when their faint warmth is caught by sensitive telescopes. We have found a few, but we know there must be many more, drifting quietly where our eyes cannot reach. If Earth were a rogue planet, our lives would be impossible on the surface. The sun's light keeps us warm, keeps our air breathable, and drives the cycles of life. Without it, Earth would be a frozen ball within weeks. But deep below the surface, perhaps oceans would remain, perhaps small forms of life would adapt to the eternal dark. This gives us perspective. Life may not depend only on stars. Planets, even when cast out, may still find ways to keep living worlds inside them. There is something poetic about rogue planets. They are exiles, yet survivors. They do not have stars, yet they still carry their own weight and warmth. They are like travelers without maps, drifting endlessly, yet still existing, still whole. As you listen now, picture them floating in the dark, endless spheres gliding silently through space, not rushing, not stopping, simply moving on with the gravity of the galaxy itself. A quiet procession of lonely worlds, each one unseen, but each one real. And perhaps one day we might even visit them. Spaceships drifting between stars might land on their frozen surfaces, drilling into the ice, searching for oceans below. And maybe, just maybe, we would find life. Life that has never seen a sunrise, but still lives in the quiet heat of a hidden sea. Rogue planets remind us that the universe is not built only for stars. It is also built for wanderers, for lonely worlds that carry on, without light, without warmth, without company, and yet they are part of the galaxy's story as much as the brightest suns. When a planet is ejected from a young star system, it is not because of a gentle mistake. It is usually the result of violent gravitational encounters. In those early times, star systems are chaotic. Planets jostle each other, gas giants tug on smaller neighbors, stars pull on their children, and sometimes one unlucky world is thrown out entirely. That world, once part of a family, becomes a wanderer. It is a strange thought. A planet that once had days and nights, warm seasons and bright skies, suddenly flung into eternal night, its surface freezing, its atmosphere collapsing, its oceans hardening into ice. And yet, the planet still exists, carrying the memory of the star it once orbited, now left behind. Some rogue planets, however, may never have belonged to stars at all. In the great clouds of gas and dust where stars are born, smaller clumps sometimes form that are too tiny to ignite into nuclear fire. These become planets from the very beginning, drifting alone, never knowing the warmth of a sun. These are the loneliest of all, worlds that were born into exile. Now the question arises, what could life be like on such planets? At first, the answer seems simple. Life as we know it needs sunlight, needs warmth, needs energy. But on Earth, we find life in places where the sun never reaches. Deep beneath the ocean, far from light, there are creatures that live by heat rising from vents in the sea floor. They thrive on chemical energy, not sunlight. This opens the door to possibility. A rogue planet, cold on its surface, may still keep warmth deep inside, its rocky heart glowing faintly with radioactive decay, with the heat left from its violent birth. That heat could melt ice under the surface, creating oceans hidden beneath frozen shells. In those oceans, life could survive, warmed by the planet itself. It is humbling to think that the galaxy may be filled with oceans we cannot see, oceans hidden under kilometers of ice, drifting in the silence between stars. Each one a secret world, each one a laboratory of life we have never touched. Our telescopes cannot easily find these worlds. They give off little light and no heat that travels far. But sometimes the universe reveals them through gravity. When a rogue planet passes in front of a distant star, its gravity bends the star's light, a subtle effect called microlensing. For a few hours, the star seems to brighten, and from this, astronomers can tell that a planet has drifted by. In this way, we have glimpsed the shadows of a few wanderers. And what we have found is astonishing. There may be more rogue planets in the Milky Way than stars themselves. Perhaps twice as many, perhaps 10 times as many. If this is true, then the galaxy is not a place of rare wanderers, but of endless, silent migrations. Whole swarms of planets drifting in the dark, unseen by almost every eye. Think about that for a moment. When you look at the night sky, you see the stars shining, each one a beacon of light across the void. But hidden in the darkness between them, there may be far more planets than you could count. Each one invisible, each one moving in quiet paths through the galaxy. If you could fly through space and stop by these planets, you would find incredible diversity. Some would be gas giants, Jupiter-like worlds cast out by gravity, their swirling clouds frozen in the cold, their atmospheres dark and heavy. Others would be rocky, smaller than Earth, drifting like silent stones through the night. Some would carry ice thicker than any glacier we know. Others may hold hidden seas beneath their frozen crusts. And among them may be planets larger than Jupiter, worlds so massive they blur the line between planets and failed stars. Objects too small to ignite fusion, but too big to ignore. These too drift as rogues, carrying their own gravity, bending the space around them. What a strange thought, a galaxy where stars are outnumbered by planets, a galaxy not built of bright points of light, but of silent, dark wanderers. And here is something even more humbling. Rogue planets may sometimes capture moons, or even pass close to stars and steal fragments of matter. They are not only lonely, they are also participants in the galaxy's dance. Their orbits may cross paths with stars, with other planets, with comets. Some may even wander into new systems, captured again, finding new suns after millions of years in exile. So these planets are not only silent, they are storytellers of cosmic chaos. Each one carries scars of its past, traces of collisions, memories of lost suns. Think about Earth for a moment. If Earth were thrown from its orbit, we would freeze on the surface, but deep below the crust, warmth would remain. Subterranean oceans might survive. Life in the deep sea could continue for billions of years. Perhaps humanity would not last, but life itself might find a way. This tells us something important. The search for life in the universe should not stop at stars. If rogue planets carry hidden oceans, then life may be far more common than we thought, not tied to starlight, but tied to warmth and chemistry. This changes how we imagine the universe. We are used to thinking of stars as the centers of life, as the lanterns that make worlds possible. But maybe the galaxy is full of unseen life, carried quietly by planets drifting in the dark. As you rest tonight, let your mind drift with these planets, floating endlessly, cold and silent, yet still whole. Some may carry oceans under their ice, some may carry no more than frozen rock, but each one is part of the galaxy's hidden population. There is something peaceful about them. They do not rush, they do not shine, they do not demand attention. They simply exist, moving gently under the pull of gravity, carried through the galaxy like leaves on a quiet current. And perhaps long after our sun has faded, long after the stars themselves have grown dim, rogue planets will still be there, wandering, silent, eternal, the quiet witnesses of a universe growing old. Rogue planets are some of the hardest objects in the universe to find, because they do not shine. Stars give us light, galaxies glow, even gas clouds scatter radiation. But a rogue planet hides in silence, dark against the dark, leaving almost no trace. Astronomers rely on a quiet trick of gravity to find them, a method called microlensing. When a rogue planet passes in front of a distant star, its gravity bends the starlight ever so slightly. For a brief moment, the star looks brighter, as if a magnifying glass has been placed between it and us. That brightening lasts only a short while, then fades as the planet drifts on. It is like catching the shadow of a bird as it crosses the sun, fleeting, subtle, gone in moments. And yet, from these brief events, astronomers can calculate the presence of an invisible world. No light, no glow, only gravity revealing that something massive passed across our view. This is why we know rogue planets exist, and not just a few, but likely countless. In some studies, it appears there could be twice as many rogue planets as stars, or even more. That means for every star you see in the sky, there may be 2 or 3 dark worlds drifting unseen. Now, pause and think about that. You look up at the night sky, you count stars, you marvel at their brightness, but hidden between them may be an even larger population, planets that give no light. The galaxy you see is only half the story. The other half is concealed in silence. Detecting these planets is difficult, but not impossible. Some are caught when they pass near enough for their faint heat to be felt by infrared telescopes. Others, when their gravity tugs at nearby objects. Each detection is like catching a whisper in a crowded room, a sign of something real but almost impossible to grasp fully. And so we begin to imagine what it would be like to travel among them. Picture a spacecraft moving between the stars, guided not by light, but by gravity. The crew might pass near a giant rogue planet, its atmosphere thick and cold, swirling in dim twilight. Or they might land on a frozen surface, with ice cliffs stretching into endless night. No sunrise to mark the passing hours, no seasons, only the steady darkness of interstellar space. But even in such silence, these worlds may not be completely dead. Beneath their surfaces, as we said, heat may linger. Pressure from gravity itself can warm a planet's core. Radioactive decay keeps it alive inside, and that warmth can melt water under the ice. An ocean hidden away from the sky, warmed by the inside, not the outside. On Earth, we see proof of this in moons like Europa and Enceladus. They orbit Jupiter and Saturn, far from the warmth of the sun, yet they carry oceans beneath ice shells, heated by the pull and squeeze of gravity. If such oceans exist here, why not on rogue planets? If they do, then the number of possible habitats for life multiplies enormously. Life might not be rare at all. It might simply be hidden in places we cannot see. Think about this carefully. When we speak of habitable zones, we often mean the distance from a star where a planet could have liquid water on its surface. But if rogue planets can keep oceans underground, then the habitable zone is not only around stars. It could exist anywhere, carried within the planets themselves. That changes the story of the universe. Life might not be tied to stars, it might be tied to worlds. Even in the emptiness between galaxies, a rogue planet could carry the warmth for life to survive. And if there are trillions of them, then the universe may be filled with life, quiet and hidden, waiting under frozen shells. This possibility makes rogue planets feel less lonely. They are not just exiles. They may be secret homes, worlds carrying life in silence. But even if they carry no life, they are still fascinating. Their diversity must be enormous. Some may be rocky like Earth, others gas giants like Jupiter, others icy like Neptune. Some may carry atmospheres held tightly by gravity, others may be bare rock. Some may even glow faintly with geothermal heat, enough to be seen as tiny red dots in infrared light. Imagine wandering among them. You drift from one to the next, finding frozen landscapes, endless glaciers, oceans hidden under miles of ice. some with volcanic heat pushing through cracks, some perfectly still, silent as stone. Each rogue planet is a story of birth, of chaos, of exile, a story of gravity pushing and pulling until a world was cast away. And somewhere out there, perhaps there is a rogue planet larger than Earth, with an atmosphere so thick it traps heat, maybe warm enough to keep seas on its surface, despite being far from any star. A world that glows faintly in the dark, a traveller carrying its own climate, a lonely oasis drifting in the void. The thought is humbling. Stars may shine, but planets, even without stars, may carry wonders we have not yet imagined. As astronomers improve their instruments, they will find more of these worlds. Telescopes that watch thousands of stars at once, waiting for the subtle brightening of microlensing. Infrared eyes scanning the sky for faint heat signatures. And each detection will remind us that the universe is not just stars and galaxies, it is also built of dark, wandering worlds. The numbers alone are breathtaking. If there are 10 times more rogue planets than stars, then in the Milky Way there could be over 1 trillion of them, 1 trillion silent worlds drifting through space. More planets in darkness than stars in light. Think of that as you rest tonight. The universe you see is a glittering tapestry of stars, but behind the curtain is a greater, hidden tapestry of planets, unseen, unlit, drifting forever. The visible sky is only half the truth, and perhaps, in the deep future, humans or our descendants will find these planets, not only for curiosity, but for survival. If a rogue planet carries warmth and water, it could be a place to settle, a stepping stone between stars. So maybe the silent lives of rogue planets are not only stories of exile, maybe they are invitations, waiting for someone to discover them, to rest on their frozen ground, to drill into their oceans, to listen for the faint whisper of life beneath the ice. Life without a star may sound impossible at first. After all, on Earth, everything seems to depend on the sun. Plants reach for its light, animals eat the plants, and we ourselves depend on both. But the truth is, life is more flexible than we once thought. At the bottom of Earth's oceans, there are places where sunlight never reaches. Vents that crack open the seafloor and spill heat from inside the planet. Around these vents are entire ecosystems thriving in the dark. Bacteria feeding on minerals, strange fish with glowing bodies, crabs and worms living where no light exists. These creatures are proof that life can begin and grow even without a star above. If this can happen here, then it can happen on a rogue planet too. Imagine a world thrown from its star system, frozen on the surface, but deep inside, still warm. That warmth could keep oceans liquid beneath the ice, just as Europa and Enceladus hold their seas today. Around cracks in the ice, vents could pour minerals into the water, and life could build itself quietly. Life that never sees starlight, never knows day or night, but still thrives in hidden oceans. Even the chemistry of life does not demand light itself, it demands energy. On Earth, plants use sunlight, but in the deep ocean, microbes use chemistry instead. They take hydrogen sulfide or methane and turn it into food. Life is not loyal to light, it is loyal to energy wherever it can be found. So when scientists speak of rogue planets, they do not only speak of dead rocks drifting in silence, they also wonder whether some of these worlds may carry secret oceans filled with secret lives. The numbers are what make this so incredible. If there are trillions of rogue planets, and even a small fraction of them hold underground oceans, then there could be billions of hidden habitats for life scattered across the galaxy. The universe may be alive in ways we cannot see, silent life carried in the darkness, never touched by starlight. Now think about what such life might look like. It would not be like trees or flowers, because there is no sunlight to gather. It might be more like Earth's deep-sea life. Bacteria clustered around vents, forming the base of a dark food web. Small creatures feeding on them, larger creatures feeding on the small ones, until whole ecosystems exist without ever seeing the surface. Some might glow faintly, as many deep-sea animals do here, not for beauty, but for survival, signaling in the dark, luring prey, or finding mates. A rogue planet ocean could be full of such glowing forms, swimming in black water lit only by their own bodies. It is also possible that life there would never grow very large. Without abundant energy from a star, ecosystems may remain small, fragile, slow-moving, but still, life would be there, persistent, adapting, carrying on in silence. And it is humbling to think that these lives would never even know the stars exist. For them, the universe is their ocean, their rocks, their vents. The idea of sunlight would be as strange to them as their existence is to us. Even if we never find them, the possibility is enough to change how we see the cosmos, because it means that life may not be rare, not tied only to the warmth of stars, but spread widely in hidden places, carried by planets drifting unseen. When you look at the stars tonight, remember that for every star, there may be several rogue planets, and for every one of those, there may be oceans. And in some of those oceans, life quietly living in the dark. The night sky becomes more than stars. It becomes a canvas of unseen worlds, carrying secrets in silence. Scientists have even imagined what it would take for humans to survive on a rogue planet. If such a world had a thick atmosphere, it could trap heat like a blanket, keeping the surface warmer than you might expect. If it had volcanic activity, it might even form hot springs and lakes beneath the ice. In theory, such a world could be habitable for people too, though life would be very different from what we know under a sun. Some researchers call these Steppenwolf planets. A poetic name, meaning lone wolves that roam alone. They are solitary, but not dead. They are cold, but not lifeless. This brings us to a profound thought, that life in the universe may not only survive where we expect it, but also in places we never dreamed of. The stars may be the lanterns of the galaxy, but the real richness may be in the shadows between them. When you rest tonight, picture yourself drifting down into one of these hidden oceans, a place where no starlight shines, where no sun rises or sets. Only water, warmth from the deep, and life glowing softly in the black. A place where existence has carried on for millions of years, in silence, unseen, unknown. And perhaps one day we will find such a place. A probe drilling through the ice, a camera lowered into the water, and on the screen, the first glimpse of alien life. Not glowing cities or grand creatures, but small, humble microbes, perhaps tiny glowing animals wriggling in the dark, but even that would change everything, because it would mean life is not only tied to the sun, not only tied to stars, but is something the universe creates wherever it can. And in that moment, rogue planets would no longer seem lonely. They would become part of a larger story. The story of life spread across the galaxy, hidden in silence, waiting for us to find it. So as you drift off now, think of them not as exiles, but as wanderers carrying hidden oceans, a quiet galaxy of unseen homes, a universe alive in the dark. When we think of the galaxy, we often imagine it as a place of shining stars, glowing clusters, radiant spirals hanging in the dark. But if rogue planets truly outnumber stars, then the picture is different. The galaxy is not only a sea of light, but also a vast ocean of darkness, a population of wandering worlds far larger than the suns themselves. This is a humbling shift in perspective. For centuries, we have looked at the sky and believed that stars told the full story, that they were the main characters of the universe, yet hidden between them is a silent majority, planets with no stars, unseen but real, carrying their own weight in the balance of the cosmos. Imagine walking through a forest at night. You notice the trees glowing faintly in the moonlight, but you do not notice the countless stones on the ground, silent and dark, shaping the path under your feet. Rogue planets are like those stones, the hidden foundation, more numerous than the bright trunks we admire. And if there are trillions of them, then their influence on the galaxy is not small. Each one carries gravity, each one tugs at other objects, each one shapes the motion of dust, comets, and stars. The galaxy is not only the dance of stars, it is also the quiet pull of countless dark planets drifting unseen. Some scientists even wonder whether rogue planets help shape the spiral arms of galaxies by adding their subtle weight to the currents of gravity. Others suggest they may act as seeds for new systems, capturing comets or dust as they travel, gathering material around them. In this way, even in their silence, rogue planets may play a role in the great design of the galaxy. For us, the existence of so many dark worlds also changes how we imagine the future of humanity. We have always pictured travel between the stars as leaps across vast emptiness, but perhaps it will be more like stepping from one stone to the next, using rogue planets as waypoints. A ship moving between stars could stop at a rogue planet, land on its icy surface, harvest resources, drill for water, refuel, then continue on. In that sense, rogue planets may not be empty wilderness. They may be stations along the cosmic highway, stepping stones across the dark ocean of space. This changes interstellar travel from an impossible dream into something more like exploration. Long, slow, but with places to stop, places to rest. The galaxy would not feel as empty if we could find these hidden worlds and use them as companions on the journey. Even now, some scientists play with the idea that humanity itself might one day need rogue planets. Imagine a distant future when the sun grows old and begins to fade. The Earth may become too hot, then too unstable for life. In that far future, could we move to a rogue planet, carrying our light with us, building underground habitats warmed by geothermal heat, living in silence but surviving? It may sound far-fetched, but it is not impossible. A rogue planet with enough mass could hold a thick atmosphere. It could trap heat and keep its surface from freezing completely. In its core, heat would remain for billions of years. Humanity, or whatever comes after us, could adapt, carrying our own stars in the form of fusion reactors, turning exile into survival. This thought reveals something powerful. Rogue planets are not only part of the universe's past, but also part of its possible future. They are not only lonely travelers, but potential refugees. And then there is the far future, a time so distant that our sun will be gone, the Milky Way itself merged with Andromeda, stars burning out one by one. In that long twilight, rogue planets will remain. Long after the stars fade, they will still drift. Silent, cold, eternal. The galaxy will become darker, quieter, emptier. But the rogue planets will still be there, survivors in the endless night, It is haunting to think about this, the idea that in the deep future of the universe, when stars are only embers, rogue planets will still be floating, silent monuments to the past, carrying their frozen oceans, their hidden cores, their untold stories. They will be the last witnesses of creation, the final companions of time itself. For now, though, they remain hidden from us, difficult to detect, faint in their presence. But knowing they exist changes how we see the galaxy. It reminds us that what is brightest is not always what is most common, that silence can be as important as light. This is a lesson that echoes beyond astronomy. We tend to notice the bright moments, the loud voices, the obvious movements, but beneath them, there is always a larger foundation, quiet and unseen. Rogue planets are that foundation in the galaxy. So as you drift with these thoughts tonight, imagine yourself not only among the stars, but also among the hidden worlds between them. You float past one frozen surface, then another. You look down at endless glaciers, at silent mountains, at oceans locked beneath ice. You realize that the galaxy is far richer than the glittering sky above suggests. It is a place of endless wanderers, carrying secrets in silence, forming a hidden network across the dark. And maybe, in some distant age, our descendants will not speak of stars as the only homes of life. They will speak of the great highway of rogue planets, the stepping stones of the cosmos, the worlds that made travel and survival possible. The silent lives of rogue planets are not just stories of exile. They are stories of possibility, of survival, of hidden futures waiting to be discovered. When we think of rogue planets drifting in silence now, it is easy to forget how violently their journeys began, because to be set free from a star is not a gentle event. It is the result of chaos, of young systems colliding with themselves, of gravity pulling and pushing in ways that leave scars forever. A solar system in its youth is not the orderly place we imagine when we look at ours today. It is a swirling disk of gas and dust, clumps forming into rocks, rocks smashing into mountains, mountains gathering into planets, all of it circling the newborn star, fighting for balance. In that crowded stage, gravity is both creator and destroyer. Sometimes, two giant planets form close to each other and their orbits cross. The stronger pulls on the weaker, and like a stone flicked from a slingshot, one is hurled outward. If the push is strong enough, the planet escapes the grip of the star completely. It does not fall back, it does not circle again. It becomes a rogue, carrying its momentum into the deep. Other times, a passing star may wander near a system, tugging on its planets. The intruder's gravity twists the delicate orbits, and one unlucky world is pulled too far, slipping out into space. In a galaxy as crowded as ours, such encounters are not rare. Stars pass each other like ships in the night, and their gravity reshapes the lives of planets. It is not always a single moment either. Sometimes a planet is nudged again and again, each time its orbit stretched wider, each time it drifts farther from its star, until one final push sends it out entirely. The planet does not notice the moment of exile, but suddenly it finds itself alone, no longer bound, no longer warmed, no longer returning. Even gas giants, larger than Jupiter, can be thrown out. Their size does not protect them from gravity's chaos. And when such a giant goes rogue, it may even take moons with it, dragging them along into the darkness. Entire miniature systems cast adrift together. Smaller planets may also be exiled, rocky Earth-like worlds, icy balls like Pluto, or even half-formed embryos of planets still carrying scars of their birth. The galaxy is full of variety, and so the population of rogues must be as diverse as the stars themselves. To imagine this chaos more clearly, think of a crowded marketplace. People jostling, bumping shoulders, shifting paths with every step. In that crowd, one person may be pushed too hard, stumble toward the edge, and suddenly find themselves outside, away from the throng. That is what happens to a planet in its young system. The crowd of gravity is so full of motion that some are inevitably pushed out, leaving forever. This picture also explains why rogue planets may be so common. Every star system begins with chaos, and with billions of stars forming, billions of planets must have been exiled. Each one thrown out is a new rogue, a new traveler drifting on a path that will never return. Some of these exiles are quiet, their surfaces freezing into silence. But others may carry fragments of warmth and memory from their birth. A thick atmosphere, heavy with gases, could trap enough heat to keep the surface alive for ages. Or a molten core could feed hidden oceans under ice, long after the star is gone from sight. So every rogue planet we imagine carries a past. It is not just a wanderer, it is a survivor of violence, a refugee from a crowded system, carrying its scars into the dark. And here is something even more astonishing. Some planets may not have been thrown out at all, but stolen. A star passing near another system can pull planets from its neighbor, taking them into its own orbit, or flinging them free into the galaxy. The stars trade planets like children tossing marbles, and the losers are left wandering. This means that rogue planets are not just failed worlds, they are part of the galaxy's natural exchange. It is strange to think that even our own solar system may once have lost planets this way. Some models suggest that long ago, a giant planet may have been thrown out of our system, leaving behind only the 8 we know today. If so, then somewhere in the galaxy, a world born of our sun may still be drifting, a silent sibling of Earth, exiled into the night. This possibility makes the idea of rogue planets personal. They are not only distant, nameless worlds, they may be part of our own story, our family of planets scattered into the dark. The violence of their beginnings also explains why many of them may carry unusual shapes and surfaces. Collisions in early systems can shatter crusts, crack mountains, or tilt planets on their axes. A rogue planet may spin oddly, its seasons forever warped, or it may carry vast scars from impacts that marked its exile. Each one unique, each one a witness to the chaos of creation. And while they are exiles, they are not forgotten by the galaxy. Their gravity still matters. As they drift, they tug faintly on comets, on dust, on stars themselves. They are quiet participants in the galactic web, shaping paths even as they move unseen. So when you imagine rogue planets, do not only picture lonely travelers, picture the violent birth behind them, the chaos of crowded systems, the shoves and pulls of gravity, the accidents and collisions that sent them free. They are survivors of storms that once raged around young suns. And as you drift into rest, think of them not as accidents, but as natural children of the galaxy, born in chaos, carried in silence, still moving with grace through the endless night. If you were standing on the surface of a rogue planet, the first thing you would notice is the sky. It would not glow with the familiar rhythm of sunrise and sunset. There would be no gentle light creeping over the horizon, no golden warmth spilling across mountains or seas. Instead, the sky would be black, always black, a silence that never lifts. Stars would still shine, of course. The Milky Way would stretch across the heavens in its sweeping arc, brighter than we see on Earth because no atmosphere scatters the light. But they would never rise or set. They would not move across the sky in daily cycles. They would hang fixed, unchanging, eternal. To look up would be to stare into an unmoving sea of stars, each one so distant it gives no warmth, only a reminder of how alone the planet is. There would be no sense of time in the sky. On Earth we feel the hours through light and shadow, through the turning of the sun. But on a rogue planet, time would blur, one moment blending into the next. You could mark the passing of days only with a clock or with the slow shifting of the galaxy over centuries. Life there would have to invent its own rhythms, its own sense of day and night, because the universe would give no signal. The surface itself would be frozen. Oceans locked in ice, mountains covered in frost, plains hard as stone. If there were an atmosphere, it would likely be heavy with carbon dioxide or nitrogen, frozen mist settling onto the ground in endless twilight. If there were winds, they would blow cold and slow, carrying no warmth, only moving frost from one place to another. And yet, beneath this silence, life could still stir. Beneath miles of ice, warmth from the core could keep water liquid, oceans dark and alive. Imagine standing on the surface, knowing that far below, hidden from sight, entire seas stretch out, carrying creatures that have never known starlight. If you could lower yourself into one of those oceans, the world would feel alive again. Black water stretching in every direction, lit faintly by glowing microbes. Strange fish-like beings moving slowly, feeding on chemistry rather than light. It would be like Earth's deep oceans, but grander, more silent, more eternal. No storms above, no sunlight ever piercing the ceiling, only the faint hum of a planet's warmth keeping everything alive. But staying on the surface would feel like living in eternal night. Even with stars overhead, the world would be quiet, colorless, still. The crunch of frozen ground beneath your feet would be the only sound. It would be like walking through a desert of ice where nothing changes, where silence is so complete you could hear your own breath echoing inside your helmet. The stars overhead would look sharper than on Earth. Without air to blur them, they would be pinpoints, perfect, steady. You could see the shapes of galaxies, the soft light of nebulae, the faint streaks of comets. It would be the most spectacular sky you could imagine, but it would never change, never give you morning or evening. The beauty would be eternal, but so would the loneliness. If humans ever lived on a rogue planet, they would have to build their own light. Artificial suns underground, glowing domes that mimic the rhythm of day and night. Without those rhythms, the body would drift. Our minds are tied to cycles of light, and without them, time itself would feel meaningless. People would wake and sleep according to machines, not the heavens. It is strange to realize that time, as we know it, is tied so deeply to the sun. Remove the sun, and time becomes only memory, only choice. On a rogue planet, the idea of morning would be an invention, not a natural truth. Still, there is something calming about this thought. A world where nothing changes in the sky, where silence rules, where eternity feels closer. For those who lived there, the galaxy itself would become the ceiling of their lives, always present, always still. They would not look up for time, but inward, into their own rhythms, their own hearts. And perhaps in that silence, life would take on a different meaning. Without days rushing by, without nights falling, existence might feel slower, deeper. The absence of the sun might teach patience, might make every heartbeat feel like a star in the dark, every thought like a flicker of light. When you think of rogue planets this way, they stop being only exiles. They become teachers of silence, carriers of a truth we often forget, that life does not need light to exist, and time does not need clocks to flow. So tonight, let yourself imagine standing on such a surface, the stars unmoving overhead, the ground frozen beneath you, silence stretching in every direction. No sunrise will come, no sunset will follow, and yet, somewhere deep below, warmth remains, oceans wait, life may stir. Rogue planets are not just lonely travelers, They are reminders that even in the deepest silence, existence continues. The universe in all its vastness carries not only blazing suns, but also these quiet companions drifting through eternity with lives of their own. If humanity ever dares to travel between the stars, the greatest challenge will not be distance alone, it will be survival in the emptiness. The stars are far apart, so far that even at the speed of light, it takes years or centuries to cross. In that vast stretch, there are no obvious places to rest, no fuel stations, no havens. At least, that is how we once imagined it. But rogue planets change this picture. Instead of a pure void between the stars, we begin to see the possibility of stepping stones scattered through the dark. Silent worlds drifting in their own paths, yet close enough that one could serve as a resting point, then another, like stones across a river. Imagine a spacecraft leaving Earth, not heading straight to another star, but instead aiming first for a nearby rogue planet. It lands on its frozen surface, harvests water ice, converts it into fuel, uses minerals from its crust to build and repair. Then it launches again, continuing on to the next. The journey becomes slower perhaps, but also survivable, each rogue planet serving as a quiet harbor in the dark ocean of the galaxy. This idea transforms rogue planets from lonely exiles into cosmic companions. They are not just drifting, forgotten rocks. They are waypoints, possible lifelines for future travelers. The practical question is how close any rogue planet may be to us. If there are trillions in the galaxy, then the nearest one may not be light years away. It could be far closer, perhaps only a few thousand astronomical units from the Sun. That distance is immense compared to our solar system, but still far less than the gap to another star. In the deep outer reaches of our neighborhood, a rogue planet may already be drifting, unseen, waiting. If such a world exists nearby, it could become humanity's first outpost beyond the Sun's direct reach. A place where explorers could build shelters, melt ice into water, grow food in domes beneath the frozen crust. It would not be easy, but it would be possible. Even if we found no nearby rogue planets, the concept remains powerful. Each one we discover in the future could mark a step on the map of interstellar travel. Like islands in the ocean, they give us places to stop, to survive, to continue on. Without them, journeys across space may feel impossible. With them, they may feel difficult but not hopeless. And in a way, rogue planets would be natural havens. Their gravity provides shelter from radiation, their resources provide the basics of water and minerals, and their silence gives stability. Unlike comets, which are small and fragile, rogue planets are massive and solid. They are not easily disturbed, they are steady resting places in the shifting tides of space. This possibility reshapes how we think about humanity's place in the universe. Instead of being confined to one star, we could imagine spreading slowly across the galaxy, hopping from one silent world to the next. The path would not be lit by suns, but traced through the dark by wanderers who never needed light to exist. Even beyond survival, rogue planets may be places of discovery. Each one carries a story of its past, scars from its ejection, hints of its composition. Some may carry hidden oceans, and in those oceans, life. For travelers, stopping at a rogue planet might not only mean survival, but also the chance to meet entirely new ecosystems, strange creatures that live without stars, teaching us how wide life's possibilities truly are. The image of such journeys is both haunting and hopeful. Ships gliding through the dark, their paths lit not by nearby suns but by the faint glow of their own engines, landing on silent worlds, drilling into ice, listening for the hum of life beneath, moving on again, deeper into the galaxy. each stop part of an endless migration. And this is not only fantasy. Even now the physics is real. Rogue planets exist. Their resources are there. The only challenge is reaching them. Humanity may be far from such voyages today, but the path is not impossible. It is worth noticing something else. Rogue planets, unlike stars, are not fixed beacons. They drift through the galaxy, carried by gravity, wandering unpredictable paths. This means they may sometimes pass closer to stars, sometimes drift near inhabited systems, sometimes cross the paths of comets or other planets. For future explorers, their motion could be both a gift and a challenge. They may be closer than we expect, but they may also move on, forcing us to catch them while we can. And yet, the thought of them as companions is comforting. In the silence of interstellar space, we will not be entirely alone. Scattered across the dark are countless resting places, countless homes, countless possibilities. So when we think of the future of humanity, we should not only imagine ships racing to distant suns, we should also imagine the quiet drift from one rogue planet to another, slow journeys across ages, building new lives on worlds that never knew starlight. Each settlement carrying its own rhythm of artificial light, its own history of survival, its own story of finding life in exile. This is the deeper gift of rogue planets. They remind us that the universe is not only about the bright and obvious. It is also about the hidden, the silent, the overlooked. And sometimes, those overlooked places become the most important of all. As you let your thoughts settle tonight, picture humanity's future as a quiet migration. Ships drifting like seeds carried by the winds of gravity, stopping on frozen worlds, melting ice into rivers, planting domes of warmth in the endless night, and moving on again, further and further, across a galaxy where the silent lives of rogue planets become stepping stones to eternity. When we think about the word home, we almost always connect it to light. The sun rises, it warms the air, it marks the day, and so for us, belonging has always been tied to a star. Our entire history is shaped by this relationship, from the crops we grow, to the calendars we keep, to the rhythms of our bodies. A star gives stability, and stability becomes home. But rogue planets remind us that home might not always be tied to a shining center. They show us that worlds can exist, whole and complete, even without a star to orbit. They drift, they survive, they carry their own stories, their own weight, without ever circling a sun. If you lived on such a world, your sense of home would be very different. You would not wake to sunlight spilling through your window. You would not watch seasons changing with the tilt of the planet. Instead, you would build light for yourself, artificial suns glowing above domes or tunnels. Your rhythms would not be given by the sky, but by the clocks and lamps you chose. And perhaps, in such a place, home would feel less like something given by nature, and more like something built by choice. A community deciding its own rhythms, its own cycles, its own sense of belonging. Time itself would be human-made, because the sky would no longer offer its guidance. This may feel strange to us, but it also feels liberating. If a planet without a star can still carry oceans, can still carry warmth, can even carry life, then maybe home is not about stars at all. Maybe it is about endurance, about what we create, about what we hold together in the silence. In that sense, rogue planets stretch our idea of what it means to belong. They ask us to imagine being content in exile, being whole without the sun, being steady without light. And when we look at them this way, they become less like lonely travelers and more like quiet teachers, showing us that survival and belonging are not always tied to brightness. This is not only a poetic thought, but also a practical one. because one day our own star will fade. The sun is generous now, but it will not last forever. It will expand, burn hotter, and eventually destroy the Earth's surface. When that day comes, if humanity still exists, we may have to carry home elsewhere. Perhaps to other stars, but perhaps also to rogue planets. It is not impossible to imagine entire civilizations living on such worlds. Underground cities glowing with artificial light, farms warmed by geothermal heat, oceans beneath ice turned into places of food and exploration. A planet drifting in silence could still carry millions of people, still carry culture, still carry the feeling of home. Think about how this changes our story. Instead of being bound forever to stars, we could become a species that learns to live anywhere. Light would no longer define us. We would create our own light, our own time, our own sense of belonging. And in this way, rogue planets may not only change science, they may also change philosophy. They challenge the idea that warmth and safety always come from above, always from the shining center. They whisper that sometimes survival comes from within, from what we carry inside, from the hidden heat that never fades completely. Even now, when we think of Earth, we can see hints of this truth. Our deepest oceans, our caves, our underground worlds, all carry life without direct sunlight. If Earth itself could survive without the sun, life might still persist for billions of years below the surface. Perhaps humanity could too. So the question of home expands. Is home where the sun shines, or is home where we can build light for ourselves? Is it tied to stars, or tied to our ability to adapt, to make belonging in silence? Rogue planets lean toward the second answer. They are proof that a world can be real and whole, even without a star. That existence does not require. And so, when you let your thoughts drift tonight, picture not only Earth under the sun, but also the hidden homes of the future, underground cities glowing faintly beneath ice, oceans alive with quiet creatures, human laughter echoing in tunnels warmed by the planet's heart. A world without sunrise, but still alive, still carrying home in its silence. The silent lives of rogue planets teach us that exile does not mean emptiness, that even in the cold, even in the dark, there can still be warmth, there can still be belonging, there can still be life. When we think about rogue planets drifting through the galaxy, it is natural to imagine them circling quietly inside the spiral arms, carried by the gravity of stars. But some of these worlds may wander even further, beyond the edge of their home galaxy, slipping into the long, dark space between galaxies themselves. The universe is not only made of galaxies shining like islands of light, it is also built of vast oceans of emptiness, stretching for millions of light years between them. And in those silent regions, rogue planets may be drifting, carrying their loneliness into places where even the nearest star is so far away it would appear as nothing more than a faint point of light. The idea is haunting. A planet born in the chaos of a young system, thrown out by the pull of giants, slowly moving outward and over millions or billions of years, sliding past the edge of its galaxy. Once it crosses that threshold, there is no pull to bring it back. It becomes a true intergalactic wanderer. What would such a journey feel like from the surface of that planet? If you looked up at the sky, you might see fewer stars than anyone on Earth has ever seen. At first, the stars would thin, the Milky Way's glow would grow dimmer, until eventually the galaxy itself would shrink into a faint band behind you. And then, as more time passed, the galaxy would become a spiral in the distance, a single glowing shape among countless others. To stand on such a world would be to stand outside the familiar. Your home galaxy would be just one island of light across a black sea. All around you would be darkness so deep, so absolute, that even the stars would look fragile within it. You would feel as though you had stepped outside the universe itself, and yet you would still be standing on solid ground. And if life existed there, it would never even know it was between galaxies. For such life, the entire universe would be its frozen seas, its underground oceans, its glowing microbes. The distant galaxies overhead would be nothing more than faint decorations, unreachable, unexplained. That life would be truly alone, without even the faint comfort of nearby starlight. Yet in a strange way, there is beauty in this image, because rogue planets drifting between galaxies would be the ultimate survivors. They would carry matter, perhaps even life, across distances we cannot imagine. They would become tiny vessels of existence, moving slowly but steadily through the dark. Some scientists wonder if such planets could act as seeds, spreading life from one galaxy to another. If a rogue planet carried microbes in its hidden oceans, and if one day it passed close enough to another galaxy to be captured, it could deliver life to a new place. This is called panspermia, the idea that life may travel between worlds, carried by rocks, comets, or planets themselves. Rogue planets, drifting endlessly, may be the greatest couriers of all. It makes the universe feel more connected. Not only are galaxies bound by gravity and light, but perhaps also by these silent travelers crossing the void, bringing whispers of life from one island of stars to another. For us, these intergalactic rogues are almost impossible to detect. They are too dark, too far, too quiet, and yet we know from the laws of physics that they must exist. Over billions of years, some planets must have been thrown with enough speed to escape their galaxies completely. And if billions of stars are born in each galaxy, then countless worlds must have been exiled this way. So tonight, when you think about the sky, remember that beyond the stars you see, beyond even the faint glow of the Milky Way, there may be worlds drifting unseen, planets carrying silence across intergalactic space, waiting, perhaps forever, never to be found, never to be warmed, but still moving, still existing. It changes the way we think about loneliness, because what could be lonelier than a planet drifting between galaxies? No nearby stars, no close companions, only the eternal dark. And yet, even in that silence, the planet continues, carried forward by gravity, never stopping, never vanishing. Loneliness, but also endurance. And maybe, in the far future, when galaxies collide and merge, these rogue planets will be drawn into new families. After billions of years wandering alone, they may find new stars, new companions, new homes. Their exile would end, not because of choice, but because the universe itself rearranged, pulling them back into the dance. So the story of rogue planets is not only about exile, but also about cycles. Planets thrown away may one day be captured again. Planets lost in silence may one day join new systems. Even in the vastness between galaxies, nothing is truly final. This reminds us of something important, that even when things seem lost, even when journeys seem endless, the universe is patient, time is long, and gravity is steady. And in the end, even the most silent wanderers may find a new place to belong. So let your thoughts drift there for a while. Out beyond the spiral of the Milky Way, out into the dark ocean of intergalactic space. Picture a single planet, frozen, silent, carrying its hidden ocean beneath ice. Above it, the galaxy glows faint and far, like a lantern left behind. And ahead, only more darkness, more distance, more endless wandering. And yet the planet continues, unbroken, unhurried, eternal in its silence. When we think about the future of the universe, most of us imagine stars fading slowly, galaxies growing dim, and eventually a silence so deep that even light itself disappears. But if we look closely, we realize that planets, especially rogue planets, may outlast almost everything else. Stars live for millions or billions of years, but they burn their fuel, and once that fuel is gone, they change. Some collapse into white dwarfs, others explode into supernovae, some become black holes, but all of them have lifespans. They are temporary fires in a dark universe. Planets, on the other hand, do not burn their fuel in the same way. They are solid, stable, and unless destroyed by collision or torn apart by a star, they can last for trillions of years. That means that in the far, far future, when most stars have gone quiet, rogue planets will still remain. Think of it this way. Long after our sun has burned out, after Earth itself is no longer a place for life on the surface, rogue planets will still be drifting, unchanged, silent. They will still carry their frozen oceans, their dark mountains, their hidden warmth. They will still be there, moving endlessly, witnesses to a universe that has grown old. This thought makes them feel even more mysterious, because in the end, they may be the last worlds left. The stars will vanish, but the planets will remain, like stones left behind after a fire fades. The galaxy will grow dark, but rogue planets will still be moving, carrying silence through eternity. And in that deep future, they may carry the last traces of life. If life has hidden in their oceans, it may continue long after the stars have faded. Creatures that have never seen light may outlive the very galaxies that once held suns. Life, not tied to brightness, but tied to warmth deep inside. It is haunting to think that the final witnesses of the universe may not be stars or galaxies, but small, frozen planets drifting quietly in the dark. The last homes of life, silent and unseen, carrying on while the cosmos empties around them. Even now, this gives us perspective. Because we live in a time of light, surrounded by stars, warmed by the sun. But this is only one chapter of the universe's story. In the future, light will fade, and the universe will belong to silence. And in that silence, rogue planets will still remain. This is why some scientists call them eternal travelers. They do not burn out, they do not vanish. They are steady, unhurried, carrying their existence across timescales longer than we can imagine. If you could watch for trillions of years, you would see stars fade away, galaxies dissolve, and still the rogue planets would be drifting, eternal in their silence. And perhaps, if any beings still exist then, they may look for those planets as refuges, not for warmth, not for light, but simply for matter, for ground to stand on, for gravity to hold them. In a universe of fading stars, even the silence of a rogue planet would be a kind of gift. The far future feels distant, almost unreal, but it is written in the physics of the cosmos. Stars will fade, galaxies will merge, light itself will thin. And in that time, the hidden strength of planets will matter most. They will remain when everything else is gone. So as you lie here tonight, think of rogue planets not only as exiles, not only as wanderers, but as survivors of eternity. The stars above you will fade one day, but the silent worlds drifting between them may still be there, carrying on, waiting quietly, long after the last light has gone. The story of rogue planets is not really about exile, though that is how we first picture them. It is not about emptiness, though they drift in the deepest dark. It is about endurance, about how worlds can continue even when they are cut away from everything familiar. When a planet is thrown from its star, it does not break, it does not vanish, it simply keeps moving. Gravity does not stop, momentum does not fade. The planet carries on, slowly, steadily, through silence. In that way, rogue planets are reminders of a truth we often forget. That survival is not always about light and noise. Sometimes it is about patience, about stillness, about continuing quietly no matter what happens around you. On Earth, we often tie meaning to brightness. We notice the loud moments, the glowing events, the things that demand attention. But most of life is quiet, most of existence is subtle. Rogue planets are that truth on a cosmic scale. They are the quiet majority, unseen but enduring, shaping the galaxy in silence, while stars take all the attention. And this is why they matter so deeply. Because they teach us that the universe is not only built of fire, but also of stone, not only of shining suns, but also of worlds that drift without light. And both are important, both are part of the story. If you stand outside at night and look at the stars, you are seeing the bright half of the universe, the half that burns, that shines, that calls your eyes upward. But the other half is invisible. It is made of silent travelers, rogue planets drifting between those points of light, hidden but real, countless and eternal. That thought reshapes the night sky. It reminds us that what we see is only a fraction of what exists, that the beauty of the universe is not just in the things that shine, but also in the things that wait quietly in the dark. And maybe this is the lesson we carry with us tonight, that life is not only about what glitters and glows, but also about the quiet endurance of what continues unseen. Just as rogue planets drift without stars, we too can find strength in silence, in patience, in carrying on even when no one is watching. Think again of those hidden oceans under miles of ice. Entire seas warmed by nothing more than the slow heartbeat of a planet's core. Life could survive there for billions of years, in total darkness, never knowing the sun, never missing it. Life that finds its own way, not through brightness, but through persistence. It is a humbling thought, because it shows us that the universe is creative in ways we barely understand. It does not only create stars and galaxies, it also creates wanderers, survivors, hidden homes. It does not only give light, it also gives silence. And in that silence, there can still be life, there can still be meaning. The more we learn about rogue planets, the more they feel like symbols of something larger. They remind us that even when you are cut away from the familiar, even when the light is gone, you can still carry warmth inside. That belonging is not always about where you are, but about what you hold within you. For humanity, these worlds may one day become refugees. Stepping stones across the galaxy, places to survive when stars are too far or too few. But even if we never walk upon them, even if we never drill into their oceans, they will still matter. Because they expand our imagination, they show us that life and existence are not as narrow as we once thought. And perhaps, in the deepest future, when stars themselves have burned away, it will be rogue planets that remain. Silent, steady, endless. The last worlds in a universe gone quiet. If life survives there, then life itself will become as patient as those planets, carrying on in silence long after the fires have gone out. So as this story draws to its close, let yourself rest with this image, a universe not only of stars, but of countless dark worlds drifting unseen, Oceans hidden under ice, mountains frozen in silence, skies filled with unmoving stars. And yet, life may still stir there, faint and persistent, glowing softly in the dark. Rogue planets are not mistakes, they are not leftovers, they are not forgotten. They are part of the design, part of the balance, part of the quiet richness of the cosmos. And if you think of them as lonely, remember that they are not alone. There may be more of them than there are stars. Their silence is not emptiness, it is fullness of another kind. So tonight, let your mind drift with them. Let yourself float through the dark, carried gently by gravity, past frozen mountains, past unseen oceans, past skies that never change. Let the silence be comforting, let the stillness feel endless. Because even in the deepest dark, the universe continues, and so do we. The stars may fade one day, but the story does not end there. The silent lives of rogue planets will carry on, slow and steady, eternal in their quiet endurance. And as you rest, remember this: that survival does not always glow, sometimes it drifts in silence. That life is not only tied to brightness, but also to hidden warmth. And that the universe, in its deepest truth, is not only a place of stars, but also a place of silent worlds, carrying their lives through eternity.